Hello YouTube, it's Lane here with Hobbies of Man once again, and today we're going to be looking at another comic book. Today we're going to be looking at Low, which is a science fiction comic book, but this one is called Low, and the first volume is actually called Delirium of Hope. So it's a pretty interesting kind of title. It kind of fits with the themes of the book for sure. So it's written by Remender, who I have heard is a very good author. A lot of people seem to be really interested in his stuff, and I can kind of see why. I have another book on this month's TBR that is also supposed to be by Remender. I think it's called Black Science, if I remember correctly. And so I'm excited to see, if I like him as an author, and I definitely want to check out all of his other stuff. So yeah, written by Remender and illustrated by Greg Tocchini, I'm guessing is how you say their name, with assistance from someone else to finish up the coloring. Let me find that person. The person is Marianne Guzmao, and the letter is Russ Wooton, with the editor being Sebastian Gerner. So yeah, it's the two, I think, more important people that are working on this, according to the cover at least, are definitely Remender and Tocchini. And the publisher here is Image, which is awesome. I think I'm basically an indie comic book kind of guy right now. There are definitely some DC and Marvel titles that I'm interested in, but vastly, I don't really care about them because they're just kind of boring. Like, it's just the same thing over and over and over again. Then I will eventually make a video talking about this, but I think I kind of have already, so whatever, it doesn't matter. Now, the demographic here is adult. It says back here, rated M, mature. And the genres are sci-fi, aquatic, I guess, is kind of like a possible genre, although I don't think aquatic is a genre. It would be actually nautical, but this isn't about sailing the ocean, it's about living in the ocean, so it's kind of different. And adventure of some kind. There's also some post-apocalyptic kind of themes here, so it's kind of that sort of thing. It's a dystopian sci-fi, but not in the YA dystopian kind of sense, more just like post-apocalyptic. And does not have adaptations, although it would be really interesting to see an animated version of this. I would quite like that a lot, actually. And the premise here is that the world has been irradiated, which has basically, it has too much radiation going on due to basically the sun expanding. This is a thing that we all know is going to eventually happen to Earth, but most people don't really think about it because it is so far away from us that it's really irrelevant, right? But the sun expanded, and so humanity went under the ocean, deep into the ocean, near the Mariana Trench, deep into the ocean, in order to avoid the radiation from the sun. At the same time, they also sent out probes to other planets to see if they could find something akin to Earth somewhere out in space. And we follow a family that lives in one of these underwater cities during basically the waning days of humanity, and it's really interesting. It has this element of pessimism to it, and the characters are vastly pessimistic. However, one of them, the main character, I guess, is actually someone that is very hopeful. And at the same time, there's also these situations, political situations, but also just like life sucks and everyone knows it's going to end soon, and so they don't give a crap anymore. And so there's a lot of problems that arise from this. So it's really interesting. So the plotline is basically an introduction to the family in the first issue. And then they get the kind of inciting incident, which is they go out to do a hunt because the family that we're following are people that are supposed to be helmsmen. And so those are people that go out to hunt basically food for the city, as far as I understand it. They use a special tool that only they are able to use, and they get attacked by pirates. And the thing is that these pirates want that special tool, which is a power suit of some sort, and they have to take someone's eye in order to use it, and so they do. And it's a pretty interesting kind of situation. Then we deal with a lot of loss. This family gets broken apart. The father dies, the two daughters are taken away, and the mother is left by herself. Good thing her son was actually still at the city, so she didn't lose everything completely, right? So Yeah, and then we get a bit of a time skip. I think it's 10 years. We get to see the son grown up and actually kind of being a deadbeat cop. And then we see the mother who still has hope, but is also kind of just like upset, done with her life. And then there's a lot of crap happening. It's just a really shitty situation for everyone. But then there's a certain upbeat of hope because apparently Stell, the woman, the mother, finally got information back from a probe. So there's a lot of tension between her and her son, and between her and the governor of this place called Salus. And they fight, they have problems, and eventually she manages to take her son with her to travel so that they can try to get to the surface, so that they can get to that probe, right? So yeah, eventually they actually end up having to stop somewhere for more air so that they can manage to go to the surface. They end up stopping at the city, which was kind of lost, but kind of known that it was there. Turns out it's overrun by pirates. They get captured, and then battles ensue. Transitions to the end of the story with more loss, and then what is going to happen later. So it's really good stuff. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time reading it. I think it was difficult to get into in the first 3 issues, but once you got to the 4th one, it was smooth sailing from there. It was just a really kind of odd situation. There's a lot of stuff happening, and I wasn't really sure where it was all leading, but eventually it all clicked and it made sense, and it was really good. In terms of characters, we have Stell and Merrick, who are the only 2 members of their family that are left. We have Tanjo, although her situation is kind of unclear. And then we have Roland, who is the bad guy, Roln, and Grom, I guess, who is Roland's brother, who happens to be this kind of suit with a skull face on it. So it's pretty interesting. And the characters have a very interesting dynamic between them. And the way that everything happens is really, really interesting. There's a bunch of other side characters, but they really aren't relevant. I don't think any of them have names. Or if they do, I don't remember them because they just didn't do anything in the story yet. So, yeah, in terms of world building, basically we see that people live underwater due to this situation that occurred with the expansion of the sun. We see that basically the habitats and the people are basically rotting. There is a rot of society, a rot of hope. There's basically a descent into sadness and nihilism and lack of caring. We see a lot of aquatic, post-apocalyptic kind of setting, building, and some very wild-looking technology, very oceany, very kind of, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of a lot of the stuff from Star Wars. Like the Gungans have very specific aquatic technology, right? And then the Mon Calamaris, and what are the bad guys from the Mon Calamari planet? The Quarren and stuff like that. Like these ocean-dwelling aliens have like very specific oceany technology, right? And it's very similar in this case. The technology kind of looks like that. It's kind of reminiscent of that, but it also has its own kind of like, I don't know, diesel punk kind of aesthetic to it. It's really interesting. The art style is great. It's very scratchy and very awesome. It has a very interesting color palette. It's very bright, but also in like a very weird way. Like these colors don't really seem normal, but it kind of fits the aesthetic of like underwater. Like if everything is blue, it's going to be annoying. So there's going to be like a flip of that color palette that you would expect in order to make it like vibrant. And I think it's really cool. Very interesting kind of look into it. And in terms of fan service, what I usually talk about in my anime and manga reviews when I'm talking about sexual content, there's some. Actually, the story starts with sexual content, so it is definitely there, and it's part of the reality of these people, and it's part of the reality of us as humans as well. So it's there. It's going to be prevalent throughout the whole story. And a lot of people are going to be dressed very scantily. So, you know, if that's something you don't like, don't read this. It's probably for the best. And yeah, in terms of a rating, it's a 4 out of 5. I'm really excited to read more. It wasn't really perfect. There's definitely some stumbling, some problems with getting into the story at the beginning. But overall, I think it was a pretty interesting story, and I'm definitely excited to read more of it. I don't know how many volumes of it there are. So hopefully at least more than 2. Because I'm interested to see where this goes. So yeah, that's volume 1 of Low, and that's all I have to say. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought, and thank you guys very much for watching. See you guys later.